I know you've got some hidden jelly plate prints that aren't that great, so I want you to go and get them out because we're going to use them and make them into frameable, beautiful art pieces that you'll be proud of.
So, have you collected all of your jelly plate prints that you're not too crazy about? I have a few here that are kind of, they're all right. This is what we're going to do. So, this is the Aku ink. I have found that pan pastels work fantastic on these. So I've just added a few colors on the prints of the leaves, and I think they turned out really cool. So you can use the pastels, colored pencils, and maybe even a bit of watercolor with this. We're going to try it all and see what we can do with these misfits that we don't know what to do with. All right, so get your stuff ready and we'll have some fun. All right, so I really like the blue with the orange and red here. So I do consider the background colors when I'm thinking of what color I want to do the leaves. Now, of course, green kind of goes with pretty well anything. So if you don't want to do fall colors, that's totally up to you. But I thought we could try out, I have some pan pastels here. And I have a soft tool. This one needs to be, this one's kind of, they do end up ripping on the ends. And when they do that, there's no point in keeping them. You can get refills, I guess you could call it. Let's see, I think I have some in here. Well, you can get different applicators too. So there's squares, there's another, oh that one's, I can use this one, or this one here. This one looks to be a little bit worn too. So we'll play with these and see what we can do. So I have a few colors here. I'm going to do more or less realistic colors that I would see in my leaves. So greens into kind of mustard colors, yellows, and then going into your browns, oranges, reds, burgundies, that type of stuff. So we have this one here, and this one kind of, yeah, it's okay, but as you can see, we're losing some of that pretty background of the leaf. Like, see that one there? So what do we do with it? Now, depending on how you want this to look, we have got different ways to go about this. Now, if you like the brighter backgrounds, which I do, it stands out, it looks nice. But maybe I want to emphasize the leaves on top of here also. So what we can do is either use a contrasting color, or we can use, depending on what you're working with, a brighter color or a darker color. Now these are dark veins in here. We could stick with more or less the ochre colors, a little bit of a lime or olive greens, or we could go into the more into the fall colors here. So we do have this kind of a lime green background, and then there's kind of a Prussian blue going into a green because it's overlapping some of the yellow. When you mix blue and yellow together, you're going to get some type of green. So, let's see, I have this one here. These are great because all you have to do for cleaning these is just rub them on either a piece of paper or actually this one. Yeah, this one's starting to get a little bit of a tear in it too, but we'll see how far we can take it. So we have Payne's gray, we've got blacks, gray, browns, orange, different shades of reds going into sepias, and almost a dark reddish purple color. So what should we do? Now we can also color the background and see what kind of effect we could get there too. We could also make more leaves by doing negative painting. Now I think what I'm going to do is I really love the fall colors, so I'm going to take this yellow, this one right here, and I think I'm not going to use gray at all, so I'm just going to put this gray in here just to keep it from breaking. And let's see what we can do with these colors. Now you can also use colored pencil. That's the nice thing about the Akua inks, is when it goes on, it absorbs into the paper, therefore leaving very little, if any at all, texture on your paper, and it doesn't fill in your texture of the paper that it had originally. So you can put quite a few layers of colored pencil, pan pastels. Now I do have other pastels you could probably try also, but I'm going to stick with these right now. Now if I wanted, say, these dark ones, see how they kind of, it's just kind of blending into the background. It's kind of the same hue as far as the olive green and this color here. So you're not really noticing it a whole lot. So let's pop that up a little bit. So we could either go in the oranges or the yellows, or we can mix a couple. Now this kind of looks like a maple of some sort. So let's just take this orange right here, and I can see the outline here on my paper. And I'm just going to do around the edge. You don't have to color in the whole thing. You could just do a little bit. The nice thing about this too is it erases. So if you've got an area that you've decided, oh, you don't like, you can take a kneaded eraser and remove it. I don't know if, I'll bring you guys in just so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. So, see how that, it's more noticeable? We can also, maybe we'll add a little bit of red to that too. Now the red is, it's fairly bright. Let's try yellow. That brightens it up. And you can just follow the edge of your leaf. Now you don't have to do the whole leaf. You could go more into the yellow as it enters the center of the leaf. And very little pastel is needed. You just tap your applicator on. I'm not scraping it, I'm just tapping it. They're very, very pigmented. So you don't need to have a lot on your applicator. This way you're not going to get dust also. That's wasted. Just dab. Okay, I'm just watching the shape. Let's do a little more orange in here. I might put a little bit of yellow just to brighten it up a little bit, because this is a fairly heavy color underneath. So this blue is kind of soaking up all of that brightness out of the yellow and the orange. So we'll just add a little bit more of that bright, nice color. This way it just helps it to pop in front. Maybe do a little bit more red. That. See how it pops it out? Now that was just one, so we have another one behind here, but I like it because you notice it because it's against the lighter background. So you're making your paper look more dimensional when you're doing this. Okay. Now what you can also do is take your colored pencils. So I think this would have probably a really dark center. So let's go into either your dark oranges or burgundy colors would do. They're all different, so there's no real wrong way of doing these. It's not working that great. I'm gonna have to get my other, where did I put those? My other sharpeners out. So what I can do, sometimes the veins, let's say this is the stem. And then you'll see a lot of times your veining will start to come up. So you can put that in. Like that. Sometimes it's a little thicker on the main vein of the leaf. Okay. Then you can, this one here could be left as is because it's fairly dark. Now maybe you would want to color the background a little more. That's up to you. Let's do another one in these colors over here. So I think this one here would benefit. So let's take some of that orange and color this leaf. Trying to see where all the, because there's many leaves overlapping this one, but I do see the main vein here. Again, you don't have to do all of them. Just do a few to help the eye go across the page. These pan pastels are so pigmented, and they go on the paper with Akua ink really well. I was quite surprised when I found this out. So why not use them, eh? So many times we have great ideas when we find all these neat tools that we can use and mediums, and then we forget about them and they sit in drawers for such a long time. I don't know about you, but I go in stages of using different things. I get tired of using, say, colored pencils, and then I'll switch to paint of some sort, or I'll get used to watercolor, and then start to need something a little different with that. So I'll get out my colored pencils again. But for some reason I tend to forget about my pastels, and they are such a great medium to play with. So when I saw that they were great on this paper, what a great way to brighten up your stuff. Okay, so we can either just leave it like that, or we can go ahead and add some more of the veining. Doesn't have to be really sharp either. Just play. Okay, so there's our next leaf. So the blue is actually still coming through the pastel a little bit, which is nice. Now I always like to have things in threes. Sometimes I don't like them all evenly spaced, so maybe this one here, there's a little one here, and it's a little bit different. It's not quite the same as these maple leaves. They're more of an individual leaf. So let's do this one in just a little bit more of the reds. Just a bit different, but we can add this red color instead of the orange. So these guys, they're a little bit different shape. So they're individual leaves. They're overlapping each other a little bit. Now I can add a little bit of orange to this, but I want more of the nice reds to show through. Let's see, this one here. Don't remember what these ones are called. It's kind of hard to tell when they red in here along the edge, like so, and I think there's one up here also. A bit more orange, some red, but just really adds a beautiful color. I'll see we have two large and then we have individual little ones, so that gives interest to your page. Now we can also maybe add, instead of this burgundy color, let's do a nice green. So we have a real nice bright green. This one is chartreuse. So let's make these stems this chartreuse color. That way it gives a little bit of interest. And you can even take it into the leaf, if you can see where the veining would be. A little bit like that. So there's the, and then you have a really awesome looking piece of art that you could then add more to it if you wanted to, or you could put some kind of writing on it. And before you do that though, the only thing about pan pastels is that you do have to put a varnish over top or a fixative. Now we could make this even more dramatic if you wanted to by using watercolor. Let's try watercolor. Now, how much it's going to go on, I haven't tried this before, so you're learning with me on this one. I do have these here. We could try these out and see how they will look. I think I would want to do a fairly dark, kind of a mustard green. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. Just to make this area stand out. So if we're to, I'm going to just see how this works. I'm painting around the area. I don't know if this is going to adhere, so let me try it just to see how it's going to work. I might have to use another pen to move it more, or a brush. We'll see. And if it dries, I don't know. So let's try that, see. Try. 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 seems to... Now can I move it? Let's try. I just have a little bit of water on here. Yeah, you can move it a little bit. Yep. So that's good to know. So I could just start this out by going around the edge of this and then just taking my wet brush and dragging it out so that it's more of a gradient color. And this is just butcher paper that I've used here. So in a way, this Akua ink is letting it sit on top a little longer, which is cool. So it's giving you a little bit of flexibility as far as how much it soaks in and that type of thing. So let's try this one over here. So I'm just going to bring this down. This is going on top of the paper that doesn't have any ink on it. And we'll see how much that moves. So again, a wet. So on top of the paper, it's a little harder. Now, if you have Neo 2s, you could use those too. But it does move a bit, so it's still not bad. So let's finish this. And this way, when I'm doing this type of painting, it's a little darker than the leaf. And that way it kind of punches up the leaf, brings it forward a little bit. Now there's still, it's still fairly dark, but you have a little bit of an indication that there's something a little bit different in the background here. I'm going to be a little careful in here because this is where my pastel is. So let's bring this up here. And I think bring that over a little bit. I don't want to do the whole area though. I think just a little bit in that one area is good. I'm going to put a little bit more here. I just want this one corner to be a little bit darker. And then with my brush, just walk it out so it becomes lighter and lighter. So it's not a hard line. Like that. And do this side here. Very simple but effective way of basically negative painting around an object that is kind of hidden because it's not a strong color, or it's too similar to the color that's in top of it. So just to bring it up a little more, you just either lighten or darken those areas behind it or beside it. And it just helps to bring that forward. See how nice it is? It just pops that right up. I like to do that also in, just not on one area. I like to have it kind of all around an area, can't even talk today, all around the composition. That way it brings your eye around the whole picture. Okay, so I'm going to just bring this, lighten areas. I'm going around all the areas I want to keep. So I'm not going to go on top of some of these leaves. So, but see how it just pops out those leaves? Now this leaf here, I think it comes up to there. This here could actually be a little darker, so I could actually go into more of a, more of an aqua color, or there's green in here. So if I were to do an aqua, let's see what we got here. We'll have to pick the right one. That's not bad. It's a little bit dark. Let's see what this one's like. Yeah, that's better. So to separate this leaf here, I'm going to just go around this leaf wherever it's touching the other leaves behind it, just to give it a little bit more distinction. So by coloring over top of this, it's going to set this one apart from the other one. Okay, and I'll just go up into this. And this is just the Zig Clear Color brush pen watercolor. And it does soak into the leaf, so that's awesome. It's a little different. Might need to do a little something in this one here, or we could leave it. Let's see. I could actually put white in here too. Kind of have to just play with things and see what you can make of it. You could also photocopy if you're not sure if you're going to like it. So photocopy your gel print first, and then work on your photocopies first. That way, if you've done something and you don't really care for it, you can try a few times without trying on your original. So that's looking good. I like that. So I'm gonna just color this here. So that puts that separate. And you can still see through it. That's the nice thing. So I may as well continue with this one here and make it that color. Because like I said, and this goes for most of your colors that you're going to be using, you just don't put it in one area. You want it in at least 3 areas in your composition. Now it doesn't have to be all the same size, each area. It could be just a very small mark, but it's color, and your eye will catch that color and follow around. Everybody is different, so not everyone will see the same color you're seeing. So it's always good to make sure you do this for most of your dominant colors that you'll be using. And try not to use too many colors. It can get a little bit too busy, and that way when that happens, your eye has nowhere to rest. Becomes too busy, too difficult to navigate around the page. So this is a great use of your, you could use watercolor, any of the watercolor markers that you have. It seems to work quite well. It's not clogging anything. And I've had these for years and years, so I'm glad I'm able to use them. So we'll just make sure we have enough on there. Okay, so there's our 3 areas again. This one's very, very similar. You could do that one too because it is very similar, but you don't have to. And I don't think I really need to do a whole lot of the dark color. I like this down here. Goes up into there. Now I could actually, where did I put it? Put that back. Is that it? Yeah. I could actually have it going in here. So in between those areas. I don't want to color in the white because that's the negative from the print. And then this here, so I'm bringing my eye around the page with this dark coming up here. So it's coming across through the center. that. And where would we benefit for some more dark? That. I think I'll bring it in here. Right in here. Just to separate the red and the green there. This way. Like that. And just bringing it past here a little bit. But I'm not going to go right up to the top of the page. So basically I'm just keeping the eye, and it'll follow up on its own, your eye. But I want it to basically fade out. So then you take your brush again and just have it fading out. So take the edge, just lighten it, push it up. Just be careful around your pastels. Okay, so there's the dark coming up in here, and you can add more or less by taking away also. Okay, let's dry that. So now, what can we do? We could either leave it, or we could add some light areas on there. You could use your Poscas. You could use fine liners. I think I want to add a little bit of white. So let's see. I have some white pens here. I have a jelly roll. The only thing with jelly roll is that you have to be sure that this is the last layer you're going to do, because jelly roll will come off. This is graphic ink. Let's try that. If you're going to be going over top of any of the pan pastels, though, you do need to fix it first, like fixative, because it does not like to, you can't really write on it. Alright, so if we were to add some of marks to this, I think, because this is the top layer, let's do some of these veins. This is a very, very fine pen. Ooh. Well, there you go. Things happen. think depends how much you want to put in this. Do you like doing pen work? Then enjoy it. Just trying to get the shape of the leaf. They have a lot of veins, points going to it. Okay. That's kind of cool. I like that. So I think this one here, even though it's behind the pastel one, I'm going to put some on here. And I'm just following the lines that I see on it already that are in the blue. And you can put as many or as few as you want. Sometimes it's good just to put a few in and sit back, go have a coffee, and then come back and take a look at it, and you'll have a better view of what needs to be done then. Sometimes too much is not good. If you have too many marks, tends to cheapen it, makes it look fake instead of more on the realistic side. So go have a coffee, come back to it, and see what you feel when you come back. There's lots and lots of little veins too. So depends on how much you like doing it and what this is for you. So I think that is pretty well all I'm going to do as far as the white. So see how it brings the white out? And it also adds another layer. Let's see. Yeah, I was thinking of maybe doing this one, but I don't think it needs it because it's on a dark background. But I do think I need to bring, I think this is part of it here. Yeah. Like that. Okay. Now, what you should do is fix it now so you can get the pastels nice and adhered down. So just make sure you have your pastels done the way you want. I'm going to put a little bit of colored pencil down the center rib here just to give it a little bit of a shadowed effect right in there. Okay. Okay, that looks good. These need to be a little bit darker. Not too much though. So I don't want the marks on these ones as the main focal point. So that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna put this away so I can fix it. So another, let's see, what do we have? Okay, so let's take a look at what else do we have here. Now this one's very, very dark. So what I would do probably is go around some of these dark leaves and do negative painting. Here's one, and I could emphasize certain parts of this, the leaves, bring them out a little more, do more detail on them. Here's one. I have a little bit of detail on this part, and I'd probably leave that. And these ones you could actually just do a bunch of doodles on. So you could use your, I would probably stick with the black because I already have the black on here. And use a pen and start doing some line work on your emphasize. Now it could be just maybe line work, and that's it, maybe. It's up to you. And that's all. Sometimes a little is just the right amount. Sometimes people tend to overdo it with marks. Then again, that's a preference thing. So, you know, you have to decide what you like. So I could put the center line in so you know that's a leaf. This is a jagged edge, so I'm not sure what, I think it might have been a oak or walnut, maybe? No, not oak, walnut probably. Another one. So I can't see exactly how it's ending, so I'm making some of this up myself. But I'm not worried about going over the lines. one here goes over that. Now this one, I know there's two in there, but I'm not sure how big they are, so I'm just gonna make my own. Like that. This one here, the end one. And then you can add your stem, your main stem. Now there's one stem coming down here off of this one. You can decide how you want that one to be, over or under. So I put mine under. Okay. So there's that. Now I can add more of the veining in here if I want. Sometimes you don't need to put a whole lot in. Just the start of it. And you don't have to do every single one of them either. Dots and dashes instead of a straight solid line. Also can look a little more subtle. And if it's got a bend in it too, you have to have your lines also taking that bend. I think I'll just do this one. That. Maybe show the center vein a little bit thicker on the bottom part. Sometimes you see that. That. Let's see, maybe let's do this one too. You could put holes in the leaves too. A lot of times they do. They have holes or tears in their leaf. Bugs or whatever. There we go. Now this one could be very subtle in its, you could leave it like this and just have, I don't know, a single word up here. Or you could have just a few of these leaves done in a color. So maybe we want let's do the watercolor. Walnut trees tend to go more of a yellow So let's try some of this. Take your watercolor brush. Now this one is just hasn't been coated with anything, so it's not going to run the way the other one did, because the other one had the Akua ink on it. This one is just plain butcher paper, so it's not going to move. So I'm just going to basically put the strokes in the way of the veining the same direction. Or you could use your pan pastels again too. This is when you can play, see what style you like. Try things out. Maybe you saw an artist do a certain style that you really liked. Maybe it was colors that you liked, or texture. Try it out. I'm just going to do a few of these, and then I'm going to maybe use some pan pastels over top. We'll see. But I'm just playing with my prints. I think this is a great way of finding out what you can do with them and not having to worry that you're wrecking a print. So pick the prints that you were going to probably put in a drawer and never open them again. And play with them. Add things to them. Now I'm just using watercolor, colored pencils, and pan pastels, but you could use paint. You could cut these out also. Paste them on a cardstock and then cut them out. Use them as fodder. Yeah, see, it's not going to move. So, not worried about that. I just had a few in there. Pan pastels, we could take, let's see. Just take some of that color off my existing. You just rub it on a piece of, even a piece of paper towel until it stops releasing color. See, this is falling apart, so it needs, I really do need a better one on this, but let's try that first. see. Let's take some of this really light yellow here. So we could go right over top of it if you wanted to, just to lighten that area up. That's the nice thing about this stuff, is you can use it right over top of your watercolor to change it. So this is actually giving it a kind of a highlight on your watercolor. Okay. Let's put some of this on these, just the yellow. Not even going to put the marks on. Just going to put the yellow on. So that's the color they would be. They typically go a pale yellow. Down here. There we go. It's very, very simple. I'm sticking to an analogous color in this though, if you noticed. So I'm not going too crazy with color. You want to keep it subtle. Now we could just leave it like this, and you could still have your wording up here if you wanted to. Or you could actually put some colored pencil on this too. We could darken around this area maybe. So find maybe even a gray over top of that would be nice. So this is a 70% gray, cool gray, and just around these areas in here. Darken it just a little bit, just to have that white more defined around the edges. It doesn't have to be much. Kind of like a shadow, actually. And when you're doing something like this, coloring around areas, and you come to this here, where there's a stem, never stop with the color there and not put it over here. That's called tangent? I think it's tangent. So you want to continue that color. I think it's tangent. Now you could just go a little ways with it and then fade it out, but always go across. Because it's kind of like putting a stop sign for your eyes. And your eyes don't like it when they see that. Funny what the mind will do. I'm just going to put a little bit in here. That. But I've darkened the area. I'm just going to go in here. I think this needs it. Just fade it out. And there's some little holes in here. I'm going to make those darker. And this in here is going to be darker. Just kind of puts that background back even further. All right, everybody. Sorry, my camera quit on me, but it didn't do much more to this one. As you can see, there's a little bit more shading around the leaf here, but not a whole lot. And I think it is good just the way it is now. Now I could have a sentiment put up here or just a single word, but I'd like to show you what you can do. Is if you go on Amazon or any framing store, you could buy matte board. So I have this one here, and just thought I would show you. Sometimes it's good to put these on. Now, and that'll tell you whether it's done or not. So I love doing this. So you can get different colored mats too. I think that looks great on its own, and it would be awesome in a frame. Same with this one. Beautiful. This is another one I had that I did a while back. Look how when you put a border frame on it, how much it finishes it. And then this was the last one I did. So these were all different, but I think, let me bring you out a little bit more. Look at it, the difference when you have a frame on it. I think it looks great. So if you find that you don't feel it's finished, like this one here, I didn't have all this blue in here. So what I did was I took a stencil and stenciled, drew around and painted in those areas with this blue. And then also to bring about more black from this leaf that I had already stamped, I just put a little bit more black around some of the circles and bits and pieces of this here. So you can also add on top other things. Like this one here. Even though it looks nice, maybe you want to add some circles on it, or maybe just a couple rings, or black. Maybe black needs to go on it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you give it a try and possibly frame some of yours, or maybe you're thinking of selling. Either way, have fun with it, and we'll see you next month.